again, it's Two with Tony on Talking Car Biz. Tonight we're going to talk about the idea of tell them what you can do. Tell them what you can do as opposed to tell them what you can't do. I can't, I won't, we don't, you have to. These are 4 word tracks that you're using. And I know I just said a curse word track, but whether it's written down or it's in your head, if you repeatedly use the same phrase or word track when responding to a customer, it's a script. Yep, it's a script. It's not written down, but it's your script. And so in tonight's video, I want to really talk about what do you say to the customer who asks you a question, and how do you answer the question in a way that doesn't answer the question, but it does answer the question to the customer satisfaction. So I'm going to give you an example. We're going to use the example of what's my trade worth on a phone up. Maybe it's a customer that just walked into the showroom floor and they ask you, what's my trade worth? Well, first of all, they're asking a question. They're not putting up a roadblock. It's not an objection. An objection comes after you offer a value on their trade-in. You offer 10, they say it's worth 8, they're objecting. But the question of what's my trade worth is just a question. And I know it's semantics, I know I'm splitting hairs here, I get it. But the thing is, whether it's a question or an objection really affects your response and your attitude toward the customer. If you see it as an objection, then you tend to be a little bit more aggressive. You tend to be a little bit more defensive, and you begin to sell the customer on the reasons why their question is not a good question. All right. So, but if you treat it like a question and you just answer the question simply and then ask for agreement on the answer, you can move forward. I'll show you what I mean. So a customer calls up and says, what's my trade worth? The first thing that you're inclined to do, your natural response is, I can't. You're thinking in your head, or you maybe even say it out loud to the customer. We can't give you a number over the phone because we need to see your car, because blah, 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 blah. All these reasons why we have to see it before we give them a number. So we can't give you a number over the phone. We don't give you numbers over the phone. You have to bring it in. Do those sound like 3 answers that the customer is going to go, oh, you're right. Absolutely, I got to bring it in. Oh, why didn't I think of that? No, when you say you can't, we don't, you have to, what in my experience happens is the customer goes on the offensive or the defensive, but either way, they're not in neutral anymore. They're offensive and they say, I'm not coming in until you tell me. They get aggressive and maybe sometimes even get angry. Well, why would they get aggressive and angry? Because they probably just heard the same song and dance from the phone call 5 minutes before they called you. You're not the first person they've talked to about buying a car, whether that's today, last week, or the last car they bought. This idea of telling them what they have to do and why we're not going to do it their way has been in our industry forever. And if you're good at it and it works for you, great, keep doing it. But today's shoppers are far less tolerant of car salesmen pushing them around. And that's why they do all their research online. That's why they're so informed, because they want to be able to engage the dealership from a position of strength. That's why they call to get a value on their trade-in. They don't want to come down there. If you're going to fight me over the phone on my trade value, why would I want to go down there? Why do I want to go fight with you face to face? So let's talk about how we can reduce the conflict and reduce the resistance to the customer visiting the dealership. First of all, don't tell them they have to come in. Don't tell them what you can't do. Don't tell them what they have to do, what you won't do. Stop. Tell them what you'd like to do. Make a suggestion to them. And here's what it sounds like. What's my trade worth? Boy, that's a great question. Don't roll into what we can't do. Affirm it. That's a great question. We'd love to have your trade. Tell me all about it. At this point, just start asking those questions that you would normally ask. How old is it? Did you buy it new or used? How many miles on it? Does it need brakes? Does it need exhaust? Ever been in an accident? Is it one owner? Whatever. But all of these questions, when you're asking them, don't ask them as information seeking. Ask them to build a relationship with the customer. Boy, that sounds like a great car. We could really use a car like that on our lot. Here's what I'd like to do. Notice, here's what I'd like to do, not what I can't do. When you stop in, assumptive close, assume that they will come in. I'm going to have my used car manager take a look at your car. He'll take it for a spin, he'll check it out, he'll do some research. He might even call some other dealers to get you the most money for it. That's what you want, right? It's a rhetorical question. It's a soft close. Once again, working toward getting the customer to agree with us, to accept the answer we propose to them. They'll never say, no, that's not what I want. I don't want the most money for my trade. I don't want you to do your homework. I just want a number. Rarely will they. And if they ever push back on that's what you want, right? Then they're probably not paying attention. That's what you want, right? They say, yeah, that's what I want. Great. When would you like to do that? Today or tomorrow? Close on it. When would they like to do what? When would they like to stop in? When would they like to have us check out their car? When would they like the used car manager to drive it? When would they like the used car manager to do his homework? When would you like him to call other dealers to get you the most money for it? Today or tomorrow? So when they say that's what you want, when you say that's what you want, right? And they say yes, and you follow up by saying, when would you like to do that? All those things, today or tomorrow, it's natural for them to choose a date and a time because they've already agreed that that's the best process. And you're not telling them anything that you're not going to do. You're going to do all these things. You're going to appraise it. The used car manager is going to drive it. And if he doesn't, he's an idiot because we know it's important that he drives it, right? If we give a number over the phone, nobody wins. The dealership doesn't win. The customer doesn't win. The reason that we don't give numbers over the phone is, number one, we've all been sold swampland in Florida, right? And it's only $1,000 an acre, and it's down in near the Everglades, and it's infested with rats. In fact, some of the biggest mice you've ever seen live on this land, and there's wild animals, and it's just totally overdeveloped. And sitting right in the middle of the thing is a big castle. What did I just describe? Well, if you never went down to Disney, you never discovered that those oversized mice are Mickey and Minnie. You never discovered that those wild animals are in Animal Kingdom. You never discovered that that overdeveloped area was like 4 theme parks in one. And you would have never discovered that these mice live in a castle. All of a sudden, $1,000 an acre sounds pretty damn good. So we know that if we give them a number over the phone, we lose because we're either going to overbid it or underbid it. If we underbid it, now we've got an objection. Now we've got to fight. If we overbid it, they rush in, and then we discover something we didn't know about it, right? If we give them a number over the phone, we're not doing them a favor either because we're either going to overbid it or underbid it. The chance of us getting that vehicle right at the exact dollar amount is never going to happen. So let's not give numbers over the phone, but not because we don't want to, but because it's not going to help the customer and it's not going to help the dealership. So tell them what you can do, not what you can't do. When you stop in, here's what I'd like to do. I'm going to have my used car manager check it out. He's going to take it for a spin. He's going to do some homework, maybe check online a little bit. Then he's going to maybe even call some other dealers to try to get you the most money for it. That's what you want, right? Yep. Great. When would you like to do that, today or tomorrow? Boom. Okay? So if you're telling them what you can't do, if you're telling them what they have to do, think about rephrasing it. Here's what I'd like to do. This has been Tony with Talking Car Biz, right there. Thanks for tuning in.